Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, December 15th, 2019. We're getting the countdown to the new year. And today we have a special guest with us, Jeni Juranics. And she is a local person to me, almost like a neighbor. When you're within an hour of each other, it's like neighbors out here where I live. And Jeni lives in just north of Kingston. And I would invite you all to share this out to your groups and your friends. And just waiting for some people to join us here. Please like and share this, and we'll tell you at the end of the show who won last week's share out. We're just struggling. I got some new technology here, and it doesn't seem to be working, but we've gone back to the old one, and I'll have to figure out how to use the new one soon. Today, I'd like you to meet Jeni. Jeni, please say your last name. I'm so sorry. Juranic? Pardon? Juranics. Oh,
Juranics.
Okay.
Yeah. Some people say Juranics. Whatever works.
Whatever works. Jeni is a psychic medium. She does Reiki and sound therapy, and she's the owner of Hawk Moon Healing Arts Space. That's where I met her, at her open house, and she's got like the best logo ever. I just love her logo. She's just such a warm, inviting person. I just wanted you all to meet her. She does lots of local events, and you can also get in touch with her online. She does all her services online as well. So Jeni, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started into becoming a psychic medium? Because this wasn't like something, well, it was something you were born with, but something you weren't aware of until recently, I take it.
That's correct. It's been since 2016 that I have been aware of my mediumship abilities. Before that, I had always been, an empath, psychic, super sensitive, but it wasn't until my grandfather passed away that I kind of started on the journey of realizing my mediumship abilities. So he passed in 2014. And then in 2016, I actually went to a medium to have a reading for myself, just to help deal with some of the grief that I was carrying still 2 years later, to do with his passing. And that's when it hit me that something else was going on there for me. So yes, after that, it was a journey of researching and studying and really just trying to understand how mediumship worked. I think because I wasn't aware of how it worked, I think that had a lot to do with how I wasn't aware that I could also connect with spirit. So once I did that, it just really opened up quickly for me and moved quickly for me as well. And now here I am, full-time medium, and really loving everything to do with this. So yes, it's exciting to share. Yeah.
You just came back from a course from the summer, didn't you? You went, where did you go to school? You went to sort of a mediumship school, didn't you, as well?
I did. I actually, for the first bit of my journey, I decided that I would not necessarily study with another medium. I really wanted it to be something that I was developing on my own, through my own insights and intuition, and just letting spirit guide me. But once I realized that Tony Stockwell was coming to New Jersey, so it's 6 hours away from me, but it was the Journey Within Spiritualist Church. I went there for a week in June, and it was an amazing experience. So that's the only formal training I've had. The rest has, like I said, has been developing, just kind of going with the flow and just trusting my instincts and my gut. So, yeah.
But going to school and being with like-minded people, that really helps you build your confidence, and it also lets your woo-woo fly, right? More or less.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was amazing to be, because, being a medium is kind of a lonely world. There aren't, you don't just go to a medium group, not around here anyway. There aren't very many. So when I went there, there was 50 of us in a room, and it was amazing just to connect. And even in the evenings we would go out for dinner and just talk about this stuff, right? It's not everyone can talk about it. So yeah, I found my tribe, and I still have connections that I've made there that I hope to study with them again in the future. So yeah, it was definitely worth it.
Yeah, and then speaking of tribe, like that's how Bex and Teresa's had grandparent duty and was called away. That's why she's not here with us today. And
Okay.
grandparent duty trumps everything else.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
always does. Um, we found that with our tribe, eh, Bex?
Yeah,
You found, yeah,
and it was
that's
healing as well.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
important,
yeah,
I think, to have support. When you're questioning things, and some of these experiences, as a spiritual experiences in general, right? Whether you're using it for your career or not, it's really good to have support, someone to bounce things off of, and yeah, even just to talk.
for sure. So, we were talking earlier about grief and grief over pets and grief over people. How do you think that mediums help people with their grief? How do you find that? Do you think people come to you? You went to a medium because of your grief, and I'm just wondering, do you find a lot of people they're trying to get over their grief, and why do you think that is? And how do you help them?
So I do feel that mediumship is not a substitute for any kind of therapy or, grief therapy. I feel strongly that coming to a medium, you should be at a place where you've, um, you know, looked at a lot of the feelings that come with losing a loved one or a pet. And so it's important to keep that in mind. I would never say come to me very quickly. I have had people come within a week. I've had people come within a month. I've had people come, under a year. I like to say, please come after at least a year, just to give yourself time, right? There's all kinds of layers of shock and anger and denial and the things that come with losing a loved one. But when you're coming to me at that place where you really just want to me, I find people really just want to know that what they already know is real. They want the validation of that dream that I had where I swear it was my mom. If that's something that comes through in the reading and I say, you had this dream about your mom, and I can give details about that, spirit can give those details through me, it's extremely comforting, I find. And just validating that, okay, all right, now it's real. Now I know I'm not making it up. Because if someone I've never met, a complete stranger, can tell me these things about my loved ones, then it must be a thing, right? So never a substitute, but always valuable at the right time. And I always tell people, trust your own instincts about when is a good time to go to a medium. And not everybody will, and not everybody needs to, but there's also the pieces of guidance that come through too. And that's another reason why I say, please wait at least a year, so that there has been things that have happened in your life that now your loved ones on the other side can come through and say, I see this is what you're doing right now with your career, or I see where things are going for you, and how about this, or just to give little tidbits of guidance in that way too. So not only to know that they're around, but they do see you. They do see your life. They see that you've had a baby. They see that you've bought a new car. They see all of that. And so those pieces of evidence too are just very comforting. Yeah.
Do you find that spirit sometimes, I don't know, what do they want? What does spirit, like, what do the embodied spirits of their loved ones want them to know? Is there a common theme Do you find that they're always kind of, they've been trying to get in touch with them and let them know, and what's that kind of a thing?
The common themes. I would say that there are common themes. A lot, I try not to give, for me, my mediumship is it's very important that it's not a vague general message, right? So that's where the bits of evidence and details come in. But then a lot of times the messages and the guidance pieces of the reading are very much, please look after yourself, please have fun, please, reach out to your sister who you haven't spoken to for 3 years, like patch up these resentments, take risks. If you want to go on that trip, go on that trip. Like, just live your life to the fullest. That's what I find a lot of the pieces of guidance are about. And why wouldn't they say that, right?
A mom's still a mom and a dad's still a dad, right?
Yeah, and they just want the best for us. And then there's, some of the readings where there's been relationships that have been left in a state of disconnect, where they want to come through and apologize, or they want to say, I love you for the first time. And those are always very emotional readings as well. But yeah, for the most part, live your life. Please enjoy, let the little things go. That's what I find is just, it's a simple message, but very needed. We get so wrapped up in our heads, don't we, about day-to-day stuff, that some of it we could let go. So it's a good reminder.
Do you get sort of like, when we're in this setting, do you get spirits coming through to you and saying, hey, could you just say something to somebody for us? You have that
like right
kind
now?
of, yeah, like right now, yeah.
I generally don't, to be honest. I think that for me, from the beginning, it was very important that I had boundaries with spirit, because as I started opening up, I was a little bit worried about, well, when are they gonna show up whenever they want now? And like, I've opened this door, and am I gonna be walking around bombarded all the time by spirit? And my experience is no, thankfully. I know that some other mediums will say that they're always there, they're always trying to get their attention. I'm not sure if that is something that they need to state to spirit, to say, if I'm not working, please do not come into my mind. So there are times where if someone starts speaking of their loved one, and even though I'm not working, I can start to perceive their energy. And but I would never walk up to someone and read them. I'm never walking around seeing spirit. I have a normal life. I have 2 young kids. I also have ADHD, so my mind is everywhere all the time. And so sometimes I feel that spirit is just one of those little pieces of everything else that I'm always perceiving with that. So no, I'm not always being bombarded. Boundaries are important for me. So just as I have boundaries for people in my life, spirit respects those boundaries too. So it's a good thing, because I don't think I could do it otherwise.
So you like to have the person in front of you, either on the screen or
Yes.
or right personally in front of you, and that sort of, then you can open up. I know what you mean. I kind of understand what you mean when you're talking about when you're talking to somebody over their thing and it starts coming through. It's like Reiki. Remember when you're talking about people and they're talking about their injuries and your hands start heating up? And I always equate it to like when your baby's crying and you've been breastfeeding, like you just sometimes don't have control over that either. But is
Right.
that what you found?
Yeah,
Just like,
I feel that when we have someone in spirit, when we think of them and when we speak of them, they're right there beside us. And so if somebody starts speaking of their loved one, they're right there beside them. And so it's up to me if I want to shift my focus and tune into their energy or not. But to me, it's always a choice. It's always intent. And I'm not walking around doing that for people if they're not asking me to do that. So
yeah. Like you say, boundaries are really important in everything in life. Otherwise, you'd be totally distracted all the time.
And exhausted. Burnt out. Yeah.
Bex, have you got a question? I know a lot of people, we're not going to do readings because Jen is really affordable online. How much are your sessions? Let's just put it out there. You're in Canadian funds too, right?
I am, yes.
So
So a 1
Americans, no, that's 35% off. Yeah.
A 1 hour mediumship reading is $180 plus tax. And I also do psychic readings as well, and they're $140 plus tax for an hour, or $70 plus tax for 30 minutes. So those are the options available by Zoom, phone, and then of course in person for the local people. So yes.
Oh, which reminds me, I wanted to talk about you're going to be doing a psychometry class. And
I am.
can you tell us just a little bit about psychometry? Because I think my friend and I are going to come and attend it. But
Please
could you tell us a
do.
little
Please do. Yeah. So when I first started doing readings, mediumship readings, it was actually the second reading that I did that I just had this like, I wonder if I held one of her objects, the person I was reading, if that would just kind of, establish a link, or if that would just give me something to kind of focus on. And so she had a necklace on. She let me hold that in my hand, and it was pretty intense when I just closed my eyes. I opened up, if you can say it that way, and the information just started flowing. And I knew that that was a very valuable technique or tool to really just help me get out of my head a little bit and trust what I was receiving. So psychometry is that. You would hold a person's object, something that, if you're reading a person psychically, you could say, okay, can I hold your ring? Usually a metal object is best. For whatever reason, they just seem to hold somebody's energy better. So holding that object, you would be able to tune into it and therefore the person you're reading for. So you might hear, see, feel, and just sense information about them through holding this object. So the workshop is just going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Just practicing on people. I plan to do it blind, so everyone will put an object out and they won't know what belongs to who, so that they're not in their head about it. And to me, it's super easy, fun, and you will be impressed with yourself. I want it to be something that people walk away going, wow, I can do this. I get a lot of people asking me to help them with psychic development, and this just seemed like the best place to start.
It's just kind of, we go and play, more or less, and play
Yeah.
trust, and you get instant feedback. And
exactly. Yeah. Practicing on each other. We'll do a couple different scenarios and exercises, and yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever done that, Bex? Have you ever done psychometry?
That's not something that I've really been able to, I guess, open up yet. So no, not really. I just usually get like the channeling or whatever like that, but nothing with the objects
channeling
yet.
Or whatever.
It feels like everyday stuff. So I don't mean to downplay, but it's kind of the norm now. So kind of just is, right? We all have it. And actually, one of the questions that was coming through, because ADHD is so prevalent in our society, do you think that actually has enhanced your ability? I feel like spirit is part of the ADHD. These kids, these people, adults are really sensitive. And maybe that's part of it, is that they're just going and picking up on frequencies that we're not all perceiving all the time. And so I'm wondering if maybe you felt there was a connection there for you with the ADHD and the psychic abilities, that you were kind of maybe not acknowledging spirit so much because you thought it was a symptom of the ADHD. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's something actually that I want to start offering. Is I don't know how quite yet how I will piece it together, but kind of the spiritual development and ADHD piece, because they do go together in my experience. And I've had some friends tell me the same. I think that, so I didn't know I had it actually until 2 years ago when my son was diagnosed with it. So as an adult, realizing that I had ADHD was interesting. And then a lot of pieces did click, like, okay, the mediumship, the ADHD, where are the crossovers. And I think, like what you said, maybe I wasn't aware that spirit was close, because spirit communication is very subtle. It's not like the movies. It's not like what we think it is, right? It's not this big booming voice. It's a very subtle experience on its own. And so always being aware of all of the little things that are going on around me, I think it is true that that would be a reason why it wasn't as obvious to me. I think that it is my superpower as well when it comes to being a medium, because when you're used to having to find different spots for things in your mind with ADHD, it's just normal, right? I didn't know that, just like I didn't know everyone else was not a medium or a psychic, I also didn't know that everyone else did not function this way. So I find that it helps me because I can have different spots in my mind. Just like when I am communicating with multiple spirits, they are in different spots around me. So there has to be, and I think that a lot of mediums and psychic spiritual workers do have ADHD or some form of what we're labeling ADHD.
Yeah. That's why it's labeled, I think.
It's not, I don't like the name ADHD makes no sense, but we won't get into that. That's a whole other...
I think it's more like there's attention everywhere, and it's not a deficit. It's like just an overload of attention to everything. And, you're just aware. And I think being an empath, you're aware of like people's energy, and I think what it is how to
overloaded.
Control it.
Yeah. So it has been, people with ADHD will have a tendency to hyper focus on things as well.
Yes.
So there's all this talk about you can't focus on things and you can never finish a task, but then there's the other side of it where you can get so into something that you can't stop. Yes. And that's me with mediumship. I have to set a timer. If I don't set a timer, I won't stop. But to me, it's a strength, and it's definitely valuable. So yeah, always finding the balance there.
I wanted to say good. Oh, go ahead.
There's just, being able to see the gift in that, like schools are so, I don't know, there's like a shame that comes with ADHD in the education system because it goes against them being able to program these children, right? So, it's been a really hard challenge for my son who's 13 and going through it. And it's like he fixates, but it's because, when he was younger, he could see spirit. And now he forgets, he doesn't remember that. But now his ADHD is like this huge thing, and it makes you wonder, is he really tuning into things he's not quite understanding yet? Which he won't talk about yet, but we'll get there eventually, but it's just when you start to have that perspective about it, these kids aren't, at a loss, they're actually more evolved. Right? These adults aren't at a loss, they're more evolved. It's learning how to work within a system that is trying to keep it smaller and doesn't want them to expand. So it's a gift, but being able to get to that place where we can have society supporting that gift as opposed to trying to dim it down, that's where we're heading. The more that we speak out about it and acknowledge it, I think it's really powerful.
Yeah. That's, like I said, it's something that I want to start piecing together and
that'd be awesome.
Being more vocal about. Yes.
That would be so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Yeah. I just wanted to say hi to we've got Nancy Louise here and Adela McKay and Sue's here and Lynn Marie's here and Deborah Williams is here. Deborah, are you? I think she's watching from Australia. I'm not quite sure.
Or England, maybe.
Oh,
yeah. And Teresa Holmes is here. Is it sensitivity? Nancy Karosky Warland is asking, is it sensitivity that causes hyperactivity? We were just talking about that. Yeah, Nancy, and we're kind of agreeing that is a component. I think it's just like.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
It's underdeveloped. That's all. It's underdeveloped, I think.
I don't know if you've ever been into a room with someone who's just like hyper wired, and you become hyper wired too because you just kind of channel their energy. And the same with if somebody's really down, you can be really down. I think that's what a lot of sensitive people do. But have you
Well, I
noticed
think
since
that.
you, go ahead, sorry. I was
Oh,
just wondering, have you,
sorry.
I
You
know,
go
it's
ahead.
hard when you're not face
I'm
to
gonna
face.
stop. You go
Okay.
ahead.
I just wanted to know if, since you put your boundaries with spirit, if you found that your ADHD has kind of settled down a bit.
I would say so. So I knew I was a medium before the ADHD. I think that's a reason why I have to have very strong, strict boundaries with spirit. Like I said, if I didn't, and I'm already operating maxed out, basically, just naturally being me, it would push me over the edge. I think it definitely is a struggle, balancing the work life and ADHD and parenting and all of those things. But yeah, it wouldn't go well if information was always coming in for me. Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to function. You'd be
No,
just
I would.
completely overwhelmed with it all the time, and not
Yeah.
supposed
And I
to
think that's the
take over.
reason. Right. And I think that's a big part of why I didn't realize or I kind of feel that the mediumship journey for me has been about choice, and it's been offered to me, and I get to make the decision if I use it or not. And for me, I'm thankful that that's the way it's gone for me, because I do know a lot of mediums where when they were young, spirit was sitting on the end of their bed and freaking them out and all of that. And I didn't have so many of those experiences. Thinking back, maybe a few, but I'm just very thankful that it's played out the way that it has. Yeah, I feel that it's on purpose. It played out this way because there is a bigger plan for it. Let's put it that way. So it's going with the flow.
And I think it's really inspirational that you're able to, share that with people, because so many people think that if they activate or open up to their abilities, that it's going to be everything, and they won't be able to establish or maintain any sort of normalcy in that. So I think that it's important that you can say, yes, you can establish boundaries with spirit. Spirit isn't going to come at you all the time. If that is something that occurs in some people's journeys, it's because that's important for their journey, but that's not the only way it works. So I think that being able to share that with people, that you can have this amazing ability and have boundaries with spirit, still live a normal life, and be able to really dive deep and enjoy this experience sharing with others. I think that's a really beautiful thing to be able to share. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. I do always say
So
that.
Jen,
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, the way that you are in life is the way that you are in your medium. So if you are somebody who is, questioning if you're a medium or opening up to mediumship and really wanting to hone your skills, take a look at how you are with the people who are physical, and what are your boundaries, and do people cross them often, and do you speak up, and do you, and even just things like how much do you notice in your environment, how much do you hear, all of those things. The way you are in your life is the way you will be in your mediumship. There is no difference. You are still you as a medium when you're working as a medium. So all of your insecurities, all of those things that we carry with us are going to come with you into your, just like you said, with boundaries. And to me, mediumship is very much about self-development as well. You can't be a wreck necessarily and open up your abilities and expect it to not also be hectic or sporadic or ups and downs and all of those things. We're never perfect. We're never in the right place, but working on yourself, super important as you move into working with your abilities, for sure.
Really cool. So is there anything you do, before I ask you to tell us what you're doing, is there anything you do daily to help with your practice?
I tend to be, maybe it's my ADHD. I have a hard time with routines. I tend to just in the moment, what do I need right now? And it varies from day to day. So often it's a good big glass of water. I have some aromatherapy mists that I use. I've really worked to be able to get myself quickly into the place of being able and ready to offer a mediumship reading or any kind of reading where it's a simple shift in my mind. In the beginning, before I got to this place, a lot of yoga, meditating, chakra balancing, visualizations, all of those things. I don't think there's any one right way. I think it needs to be what you feel you need in the moment. I do meditations called sitting in the power. That's something that's important as a medium or any energy worker, to build up the energy, build up your energy, raise your vibration, and just to get used to the feeling. It's an amazing feeling of being in the power, if you can call it that. So all kinds of things. Music is huge. Singing, on my way to work, after I drop off the kids, I crank up the music and sing, and I find that the more that I open my voice and my throat chakra, the easier words will flow during a reading. So yeah, there's no one thing that I do.
Cool. Tell us what's coming up for you and what you are promoting right now. And just, I put all your links in the video description, and you're welcome to put more links in the comments and talk to anybody else in the comments and share this out. But let us know what's coming up next for you right now.
Well, I am very excited to be offering a group reading, at in Kingston, Ontario, at the Italo Canadian Club. It's called A Night with Spirit. And for those who are wondering what a group reading is, it's like you see on TV where the medium is on the stage and just reading for the audience members. So that's on January 30th here in Kingston, and it's going to be amazing. I can already, like every ticket that sells, I feel the energy building, and I'm just so excited about it. So that's the biggest event that I have coming up in January.
And your workshop? So, like in your workshop.
Psychometry workshop, when is that? That's January 16th at my healing space, Hawk Moon Healing Arts. On the 9th of January, I also have a vision board workshop. It's completely free. It's really just let's hang out and dream big for 2020. And on January 12th, I have an open house celebrating my 1-year anniversary of having this space. So that's exciting. Again, free. There's food. There's just good conversation and music. Just hanging out. And then in March, for the local people as well, I organize the Mystic Market and Holistic Fair. So it's in March. It's a little ways away still, but March 7th at Rideau Acres Campground, and that is amazing. There's going to be about 40 different healers and vendors, all offering services and selling beautiful crystals and jewelry, and just, you don't want to miss it. It's like heaven for us woo-woo people. So yeah.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes.
So great. Bex, thank you so much for joining us, Jeni, today. And I'm glad we finally could connect. It just had to be that right time and space. And I'm glad you had your workshop out down in New Jersey, and you could tell us about that. And I'm glad we could connect, and I'm sure we will again in the future, because hopefully I'll be able to go to your workshop. So
I would love that. Yes, please come.
Oh, if anybody wants to know, like at her last open house, I'm going to share this at her watch party. That's what I won at her last open house. So it was so much fun when we went out. Great.
I'm always doing giveaways. That's another thing to keep in mind. People are, sometimes people can't afford a full reading. And so I always tell people, please follow my psychic medium Jeni Juranics Facebook page, because I try to do giveaways as often as I can. For example, for the evening with spirit, I gave away 10 tickets for that. And then at that event, I will also be giving away free readings too, just as a draw. So just other ways to get people their chance to have a reading as well. So yes,
So
the wall hanging was one of those giveaways.
yeah, so cool. It's got a beautiful blue calcite crystal in it. Thank you again so much, and we'll connect again. Stay with us afterwards. Bex, do you have our announcements? And yeah, Teresa, we miss you.
Yes, we miss Teresa very much. So the person who won the Share It Out last week, who won a reading with Teresa, is Christy Warnick. So congratulations, Christy. Teresa will get a hold of you. We'll let her know. And you guys can set that up, and it'll be awesome. And whoever shares out this week the most will win a reading with Rhonda, a healing through the records, reading, which is always amazing. So you definitely want to share this out as much as possible and go for that chance to win with her, because you will not regret it. So I think that's it for announcements.
And what are we doing next week? Next week? Next week, Teresa and Bex, and perhaps myself, if I can get away from Christmas dinner.
Is that really next week? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're going to be on live doing pulling cards for 2020 theme, and some of our people. So we'll be pulling angel cards or doing quick readings or healings or whatever. And hopefully I can join you too, but right now I'm just trying to figure out.
Well, whoever needs to show up will be there. So if you can't make it, you'll be there in spirit. We got it covered. Yeah, so no worries. For sure. It'll be like a spirit sessions party. Just a card reading.
Spirit session. Yeah. Christmas party.
Fun.
Yeah.
Right. We'll dress up. That's it. Thank you so much, Jeni. Yes. Right. This was fun.
Thank you again, Jeni.
Yeah.